we wanted to talk about the time that we were both signing on. Yes,
Yes,
we were both signing on. We were on job seekers allowance.
yes,
We were on benefits trying to survive. And it's hilarious how both of us were signing on at the same time. I mean, hello.
yes. Definitely. And the worst part was we both had degrees. That was the most disheartening
Oh
part. We
my
had
gosh.
completed our degrees.
Yes.
We had graduated, unfortunately, in the midst of a recession. So that just meant
Yeah.
that everything was upside down, that the economy
Yeah.
wasn't great,
Yeah.
pretty much, similar to how we are now, really. But, you
Yeah,
know,
that's true, actually. It's quite similar, to be honest. But I
mm,
think it's worse now.
yes, I actually do, to be fair. I
Yeah.
think at least back then, I think it kind of felt like there were still opportunities available. We just wasn't able to
Yeah.
kind of crack them at the time. But I
No.
think now, just compiled with everything else, it just seems a
Mm,
lot harder for people. I think
mm,
definitely,
mm,
definitely.
mm,
But yeah, we
mm.
were there, degrees that we were
Can
told and
you
promised the
imagine?
world.
Yeah, can you imagine having a degree, graduating from university? Like, what an achievement! Like, what
Mm,
an achievement!
mm,
And then you end up signing on.
mm,
You end up
mm.
having to go on benefits because you can't land that dream job. And some
Yes.
people might say, okay, you didn't quite prepare yourself, you didn't quite do what you were supposed to do, because apparently the steps you're supposed to take to make sure that you do end up with a career after university. But
Mm.
we ended up in that rock bottom situation.
Total rock bottom, absolute rock bottom. And I remember
Mm,
going to a job center appointment, and
I'm
the
laughing
worker
already,
said
but
to
it's
me,
not funny.
"Oh, you have a degree in law." Oh, and I just said to her, because at this point I had had enough of people saying that, because at that
Yeah,
point it wasn't getting me anywhere. Like, I had hit,
yeah,
kind of rock bottom, with everything. And I just said
yeah,
to her, look, I could have a first class degree in shoveling cat poo poo, and it is not going to make a blind bit of difference right now, because we're in
no,
the middle of a recession. So I
yeah,
don't need to be reminded of what degree I have. Like,
yeah,
the bottom line is I can't secure a job right now.
yeah,
Like a lot of people, it was hard to try and
yeah.
secure something.
So for
And
reference, we graduated in 2008 when we
2008.
had the
Yep.
whole financial crash
Yes.
situation. Everything was just
Yes.
horrible and dire. So maybe that gives a bit of context and
Mm,
um like a background to what we're talking
just in
about.
terms of timing, just in
Yeah, a
terms of kind
little
of
timeline.
pinpointing exactly what sort of time period we're talking about. And obviously,
Yeah.
for those of you that might have been looking for jobs or graduating the same sort of time, I'm
Mm,
sure you guys can relate as well, that it was so, so difficult. I mean, out
mm,
of all of my friends, the only people that I think had secured any decent secure job were probably those
mm.
who had either done a gap year and had already
Yes.
secured something, or
Yeah.
those that went into really high demand career paths, like such as teaching.
Yeah.
Those friends, were actually quite fortunate. They were able to kind of go straight from graduating into a job.
Into a
But,
job.
myself, in a highly competitive field in law, it was
Yeah.
just a nightmare, an absolute
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just a really, really difficult period of time, and just kind of managing, or trying to manage and budget on benefits when you still have bills to pay. The bills
Budgeting.
don't
Yes.
stop just because you're having to sign on. You still have to somehow budget your food out of that, and your phone bill. I mean, I remember, I literally, by the time I had paid a little bit of rent, or money towards
Mm,
rent, by the time I'd
mm.
paid for a bus pass, which you had to
You
wait
barely
ages
had
for it to be
anything.
half
Mm,
price. You had to be signing on for at least, I think, 3 months before you could even get half price bus fare.
yeah,
By the time I calculated it, I think I used to have less than £10 to
that
survive for
is
the 2 weeks
crazy.
until signing back on again. And
That
out
is
of that, you're
crazy.
supposed to be actively looking for work. It's like, yes, with £10, I can actively look for work. I can't even go into central London for a job interview back then. So I don't know where you think I'm going to be actively looking for work.
Mm,
Just, yeah, very, very difficult, very, very
that
difficult
is absolutely insane to
times.
hear that. And
Mm,
and talking about budgeting is hilarious. I mean, you talked about the rent, what's it called? Paying for food, paying for this. There was one hilarious story that laughing thinking about it. It's not funny. It's not funny. There is literally a story of, I'm gonna let you tell it, but it was a story of when you went to sign on,
Is this the
and
KFC story? Is
it's
this
the
the KFC?
KFC
I
story. It's the KFC story where you wanted to buy a burger, and this burger was 99p at the time, so we
99p.
thought.
Yes.
And
Oh,
for some reason, could not get this 99p
I
burger.
could not get
Please.
the
And
99p
when you
burger.
called me, I literally, like, when you're on the phone and you're like, what? Like, no way.
Yeah,
Like, and I didn't
yeah.
even laugh at the time. I just said to her, you
No.
cannot be serious. Like, this is like the story of our lives. We just got
Yes.
things that happen to us, and we're like, you can't be serious. I mean, now we
Yeah.
can laugh about it, but go on anyway.
Oh my
About
goodness.
this
The KFC 99p burger story. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Listeners,
KFC.
I'll tell you the
Oh,
story. So I had signed on. I had to sign on for, the usual fortnightly check-in
yeah,
where they grill you. Anybody that can relate knows they ask you 100 questions and they want to cross-check that you've done things. It's like, look, we want to be working. We're not here for the fun of it. So
yeah,
it can be very frustrating. I'm sure a lot of our listeners that are or have had to sign on in the past could definitely relate to those.
yeah,
Just that awful feeling walking in that building. You've got your security guard there in case something kicks off, and there's normally something that kicks off.
yeah,
And the worker kind of almost talking down to you a
yeah,
lot of the time, and that just kind of feeling just awful when you go there. So I had gone there, I'd signed on, so I was waiting for my payment to come through a few days later. And I remember I was literally like, I had spent my bus pass, travel card money
yeah.
to get to the appointment. And where my local job centre was located, next to it
Mm.
was a KFC.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, right, I've signed on, I've done what I need to do. They're happy with my job searches. I've got literally £1 in my pocket. I am going to go and get a
One
burger.
pound. Can you imagine? Yes.
£1, £1 coin, nice shiny £1 coin in my pocket. So I come out of the job centre, walk around to this KFC,
It was
and at the
literally the
time,
next door down, wasn't it?
it
It
was
was Job
literally
Centre, then KFC.
you
Yes.
cough and you were there. You literally
You're in
coughed and you were
KFC.
there. You
Yeah.
were in
You're eating
KFC,
a
my friend.
burger already. Yeah.
You could smell it from the job centre seat. You could smell the KFC.
Can't afford
So
it,
I come
but you
out.
can smell it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I came out and I was like, right, I'm going to get a 99p burger from their saver menu, like a little tiny mini fillet. That was it. It was a mini fillet. So I
Yes.
was like, okay, I'm going to get myself a little mini fillet. I think I already packed a drink from home because, you can't afford to be spending big money on drink out there at
Yeah.
that sort of time. And I remember I walked into KFC and the guy,
Mm.
hello, man. Yes, how can I help you? I said, can I have the nutty? And I look up. Why is it that burger was now £1.19? Where is the 20 pence come from? I was like, £1.19. And
I can't
when
afford
you
that.
don't even have the peanuts, you just know in your mind you don't have the pennies in your pocket. Like sometimes you think, oh, there might be some loose change in my bag. I knew that I only had that £1 shiny coin in my back pocket. And I had
Mm.
to literally go, oh no, it's okay, it's all right, I'll come back. I need to have a think. And I
Yeah.
turned around and I walked out of that KFC and I stood outside and I just wanted to cry. I mean, I could laugh about it now,
Yeah.
but back then it was no laughing matter. I
And I
was like,
think at that
you know,
point is when you called me.
that's when I called
When
you,
you
my
walked
friend.
out the KFC.
I called you. I called you. I dialed your number and I said, I think I was ranting. I was having one of my ranty moments going, I've just signed on. I've got £1 to my name and I
Yeah.
just wanted a 99p burger.
Beef burger.
And it's increased to £1.19. And I wanted the ground to just open me up and swallow me whole. And then to add
Yeah.
insult to
To
injury,
injury. Yes.
outside of the KFC where I was standing, and in between the KFC and the job centre,
There's
there
a
used to be
billboard.
this a billboard with
Yeah. A
a like a
sliding one.
rolling, yeah, like a rolling advert that kept popping up all the time.
Yeah.
So as I'm standing there talking to my bestie, half in tears, half just like, what's going on with my life right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing you know, the billboard rolls up. It's only a damn advert for
For
this
the
one
burger you
pound
couldn't afford.
nineteen KFC burger. I
Literally
was
on the
just like,
billboard was the picture of the burger, the
it
exact
was a
burger that
picture
she
of the burger.
wanted, saying that it was £1.19. And he just
£1
rolled up as
19.
her tears were rolling down. It was rolling up.
That billboard rolled up as my tears were rolling down, my friend. It was a disaster. And I really do think that looking back on that now, that was really quite a pivotal moment. I can't quite pinpoint exactly
Mm,
how long against, in my journey of, signing on and struggling to find work after graduating that was.
mm,
But I definitely know that that was a pivotal moment for me because it was just like, this can't be life.
I
This
know.
cannot be my life right now. Like,
Yeah.
just seriously, it cannot be my life right now. Like,
Yeah.
don't put
And it's
don't
funny. I
put it.
mean, food for us, that's what unites us anyway. Like,
Mm,
we're just foodies naturally.
mm,
But, like, it's to the point, like, when you fast forward to now, like, when we have a meal, when we go out to eat, like, literally, we sit there and we're savoring the food. Like, it's
yes.
even like complete silence because we
Mm,
know we've had days or times when that wasn't possible, when we couldn't
mm,
even afford that 99p burger or the one pound
no,
19 burger. So it's like
no.
now when we go out, both of us, it's like unspoken. We just sit there and
Mm,
we're just enjoying this meal. And
mm,
I mean, also another thing that we wanted to share was um how even through those struggles, obviously our friendship still remained. We still
yeah.
supported each other. We were always there for each other. When she couldn't get the 99p burger and it was scrolling up, she called me and I was like, what? Like, it couldn't
Mm,
just be like the worst timing for something like that to come on the screen. But also, we united, or we supported each other. We were there for each other, even when we
mm,
couldn't afford meals, even when we
mm-hmm,
couldn't sit down in a restaurant and eat, for example. We would
mm.
go to a 99p shop, we
Yes.
would buy biscuits or whatever it is,
Yes.
and sit down and just eat it together. Like, I don't know if anyone even know this, but that's what we
Mm.
used to do. It was
That
just
might be a
that
revelation. That might be a revelation to a lot of people because I don't
nation.
think,
Like,
probably, obviously for listeners that are listening, but even for some of my other friends that are tuned in or tuning in, they may not know that that was a real struggle. That was an absolute real struggle. Like
reality for both of us.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I
So,
mean, I'll never forget it. I can still pinpoint and remember we were, you know,
on the bus.
kind of on the bus because that's all we could afford to do is ride the bus.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes with bus passes that might have been tweaked a little bit, but
A little tweak
we
on
can
the
talk
bus
about
pass, but
we can talk about that. That's a
paper
separate podcast
ticket.
altogether. That one, the ultimate hustler days. But we'd go to the pound shop or wherever. We'd buy £1 biscuits and we'd be sat on that bus catching up on
Enjoying.
life, trying to
Yeah.
encourage each other, saying that we will get past this, we will get through this, we will secure
Mm,
jobs, we will see the light at
mm,
the end of the tunnel.
mm,
And it's just important to add, for kind of listeners and everybody else that you know in those moments where you just feel like, what's the point? In that moment, I know it might sound silly to some people now. He was crying over a 99p burger. No, it was food. It was being able to eat. It was being able to
yeah.
kind of sustain and the basics, the bare basics in life that was a
Mm,
struggle.
mm,
And it's just important to kind of say that it was so much of a blessing to have like your friendship consistently. I mean, you've always been
mm.
consistent, in my life
Throughout,
since we
yeah.
were teenagers, but just to have that support and have that
Mm,
friend on the other end of the line, because we can definitely understand that there's many listeners out there that struggle, in life now, or maybe, when they
mm,
were younger and at school, to have that
mm,
person or people around them that actually could help them and see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it was just so difficult at the time. But I'm just so thankful for
yeah.
for having you as a friend to support and get us through. And like we always kind of take a moment and take a time out to think about that, you
Mm,
know whether we are eating £1 biscuits or whether we are chowing
yeah.
down on the best food out there, look, money can
Yeah.
buy. Our
Yeah.
friendship remains the same. We still have the same. It's still the same ethos,
Doesn't matter where
regardless.
we are. It could be at the
Yeah,
Ritz. We
yeah,
could be at the £1 shop. It
yeah,
doesn't matter. Like, literally,
yeah,
as long as we had each other, we were good,
yeah.
and we savored those biscuits and we still
Yes,
savor the meals that we go out for now.
yes, Yes.
The same exact way. That's the funny thing. The exact same way. We
Mm,
still savor them and use that as our kind of, is it unloading session, bonding sessions? I don't know
mm.
what you can call them really, but it
We
didn't
should
matter
tell the
what we were doing.
we should tell the listeners about our code red, amber, and green Nando's. I think that's a
Oh,
good
that's
thing.
that's a good topic
You
to
want to
talk
tell them?
about.
You want to tell them, Sage, about our code red, amber, and green Nando's?
I know. And the funny thing is, when you go to Nando's, they actually have the red, amber, whatever
Yeah.
rewards. That's the funny thing. So that's kind of like our code word for how bad we need each other, or how bad we
Yes.
need that conversation, or how that Nando's session is going to go. So if it's a
Hmm.
red, it's a dire
Yeah.
situation.
There's
It means
tears.
we're gonna be there. There's gonna be tears. We're gonna be there literally from when they open to when they
Yes.
close,
Yes.
and then it goes down the ranks.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. A code amber is like,
Yeah,
okay, there's a few things we need to talk about. We might need a good couple of hours,
yeah.
but it's not as we're not. There's no tears involved. Basically, there's no tears. And a code green Nando's, which very rarely happens because there's normally either
I was
something
about
that's
to say,
teetering,
I
isn't there?
don't think we've had many green Nando's.
No,
We haven't. They've all been red.
they have, they've either been amber or they've completely been code reds where we're just like, if you don't help me, then that's it. I'm running away. Like I can't
Yeah,
deal. I cannot deal.
chicken,
But
I'm running away.
that's it. That's it. But a code green is if everything's pretty much good and it's just your routine catch up. Code green
Never had
Nando's
that.
routine
We
catch
have
up.
never had a code green.
We haven't. Most of the time, it's been code ambers. To be fair, and I mean, we're still in Nando's for hours on end, basically, till they sweep us out. Big shout out to Nando's because they are great. I think sometimes they just know that we're in deep conversation. They're just like, yeah, until it's time to sweep
Love
them
them.
out, we're just going to leave them there. But code amber is when things are, a little bit wobbly, and your code reds. One or both of us are crying for sure. We are crying and we're
Tears,
ordering dessert.
chicken, tears and chicken, tears
There's
and
tears
chicken.
dropping in the chicken, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing as well, like, talking about budgeting, which is quite important now anyway. You know, I don't know if you remember, when we used to get called for job interviews and we didn't have stuff to wear,
Yes,
we found this shop. Don't ask how I found it. We
yes,
found this shop in East London and
yes.
it sold like the clothes that were being sold in New
Knockoffs.
Look, knockoffs, Dorothy Perkins, like all the
Yes,
expensive AX Paris or whatever it was,
that's
the
the one.
fancy
Yeah,
dresses, and then they were selling them for £5. Like everything
£5.
in that shop was £5. And we would go there and we would literally like pick out the clothes. So they cut the label,
Yes.
like half of it, so you can't see where the dress is from, but you
Mm-hmm,
can
mm-hmm.
see the end of the label, and you knew,
Yeah,
But we found, and that's how we survived. Like that's
that
where we
was
used to find our interview
the
outfits.
best. That was the best discovery you ever made, Sage. I'm telling you, because I remember,
Mm,
when we were lucky enough to have interviews, more often than not, they were uptown. So we had,
yeah,
we had to try and dig deep and find the money to get the transport up to, into town for the interview. But the most
yeah,
important thing was we had no clothes. So we had to literally be trying to find ways around it to find suitable
yeah,
enough clothes to look suitably decent for this
yeah,
interview to hope that
yeah,
they were going to give us the chance. But
yeah.
that £5 shop was the best,
It was the
absolute
best.
best.
And the clothes were such good quality. It was like when
Yes,
you washed them, they were still alive. Like they were
yes,
still good.
yes, yes,
You
yeah.
could
Oh my
not compare
gosh,
that shop to a Primark. Like the clothes
no,
there were top notch quality. And I probably
no,
still have some, to be honest, in
yeah.
my closet.
You
But
know what? Yeah, I think I can't even. I'm trying to think. I maybe only recently have just thrown out maybe a few items that obviously don't fit me no
we've
more.
had them
But
for years.
we
Yeah.
had them for years, for sure. We had them for
Mm,
absolute years. To all
mm,
the interviews and just when we actually got the job, so that we could look professional, obviously, because that was a big
yeah.
thing as well for us, image and making sure we were
Yeah.
putting the right image out there and
Mm,
having that
mm.
professional attire is something that's very important. I definitely know for you, Sage. Probably more so than me. I think that professional work attire
Oh, you had to put it
is so
on.
important.
Yeah.
Mm, Oh my
Definitely had to
goodness.
put it, and that was my thing. I think people never realize because when I used to go to work, they're like, "Oh, you're always overdressed," and in my head,
Yes.
I'm like, "You don't know where I've come from," and that's the
Yes.
thing that people need to realize. You don't know why people do things. You may
Mm-hmm.
not understand it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not for you to judge, you know. But
Mm,
I was met with a lot of judgment because I used to go. I'd look like a bum out of work, but when I was in
mm,
work, I was sharp, like
mm.
that's you couldn't form me. Like literally, I would make sure hair's done, dress,
Yes.
a formal, shoes, everything, because I knew where I had come from, and I was like,
Mm,
I just had to put my best foot forward, regardless of what day it was. Like I
mm.
just didn't, I didn't let anything slip up. But people didn't realize it's because of where I came from. It's
Yeah.
because of what I'd been through. That's why I do those things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
Oh,
that's a really important, life lesson, in general, and for people
mm,
that are listening, and are regular listeners and everything. You know,
mm,
just you don't know why people do things, why
yeah.
people, if people are presenting themselves in a certain way or they're dressing
Mm,
a certain way that gives them that extra spring in their step. It's not for anyone
mm,
else to judge because you don't know,
yeah.
as you say, Sage, you don't know what it's taken for that person to be standing there where they are, and
It's so true.
it could have taken all their energy, all their might. It could have taken all their effort to secure that
Mm,
job that you might
mm,
take for granted, but that for
mm,
us, we've been
mm,
on that side of struggle. We've
mm,
we've kind of,
mm.
you know, been, scraping for £1 biscuits or a £1 burger
Exactly.
and things, So it,
Exactly.
it means more to those that have come back and battled back from struggles.
Yeah.
So yeah, just always be mindful, I think,
Yeah. And
just be
it's always
mindful.
like for us, it's always like, is it ours? We don't know if
Mm,
it's ours. Like, is it ever ours? You know what I mean? And when
mm,
we finally entered employment, we
mm,
were always, well, for me, I think both of us, I speak for both of us now, we
mm.
were always scared. We're like, is this for us? Like, are we
Yeah.
really here? Like, and then you try and do everything to make sure that this is actually yours. Like, is this really
Yes.
mine? And part of that for me was the image, it was the
Yeah.
dressing up and, making sure I'm all put together and stuff like that. But people would never understand that. They wouldn't
Mm,
know that you were signing on the other day and you're thinking,
mm,
I need this and I need to keep this and I can't be got
mm,
rid of because this is
mm,
my life now, and I don't want
mm.
to go back.
That's it. Yeah, I definitely 100%, agree, Sage. And I think that I know for me, and I know you could relate to this, and you was on the end of the line every single time I would start a new role, and my panic would be to get to probation. And
Yeah.
I don't know about me, obviously, some of my listeners that know me well used to know that I used to like quite jazzy, snazzy earrings. I used to always kind of have these, crazy,
Oh, yeah.
blingy, big earrings that I used to kind of wear. And I used to deliberately make sure that until I passed probation, then the big earrings would come out.
Oh, yes.
Once
I
probation was
know those
passed,
earrings. Yes.
then I'd be like,
Then
all
they
right,
come
I'm
out.
in.
Yep.
But I mean, Sage, you've been on the other end of the phone when I've been a couple of days in a job and I'm like, oh my God, they don't like me. I'm going to quit. Literally, normally two
Oh,
days in, isn't
yeah.
it, with me? 2 days in, I'm normally on the phone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's probably a story for another day. But
That's definitely a
literally,
separate podcast.
she walks in and she's like, that's it. I don't
Yeah,
belong here.
yeah. That's a whole imposter syndrome podcast. That's its own separate
Imposter,
thing for our
honestly.
listeners. We will touch on that one for sure, definitely, because that's definitely something both me and Sage, I think, can relate to. But definitely just that whole thing of wanting to fit in when you secure those jobs
Yeah.
and get past probation, and you're pinching yourself, thinking, "Is this real? Am I actually here?" Like you say,
Yeah. Am I really here? But
Yeah.
yes, guys, that was a little bit of a deep dive into
Deep do.
struggles and kind of going back a bit. So let us know in the comments if you relate. Don't forget to like
Like, subscribe, comment,
and
hit all the
subscribe and
buttons.
comment all that good stuff. And if there's
Mm,
anything that you want us to talk about or you have any questions, then put them in the
yes.
comments. Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep,
It's
beep.
your awkward besties. I mean, if you don't talk to us about it, who are you gonna talk to?
That's it. Yeah. You can't get that more awkward than us two. So,
You
come
can't
along
get
for the ride.
more. And there's plenty more where that came from.
Yeah.
So join us on the next podcast and
Yeah.
we'll see you later.
We'll see you
Take
soon, guys.
care.
Bye.
Bye.